Hey, I want to talk to you today about gifts. When we were kids, we didn't celebrate Christmas as normal people would, but we did get gifts, and gifts were important. We often exchanged names in our family. It was kind of funny because I'll never forget my one brother got his own name. He didn't tell anybody. He just went out and bought what he wanted, wrapped it up, and put it under the tree. Smart man. And there was a time we went to Grandma's, and Grandma had walnuts on the tree. Hanging on the tree, this little tiny cardboard tree. And our name was kind of in a weird little thing sticking out of it. Well, my brother decided he didn't like walnuts. Well, he didn't like walnuts. So my other brother, there's some reason for this walnut. So he took I'll take your walnut. Well, Grandma had put a $5 bill in the walnut. A lot of times what we got for Christmas was what we needed. And when the kids were little, we didn't even bother giving them gifts till they could understand what Christmas was about and what it was, and then they didn't get many because that wasn't our focus and we were dirt poor. But I want to talk about the three gifts of the wise man in a whole different way. And you're going to probably think I'm nuts, but I did sleep good last night, so just follow me. So the wise men came and they brought gifts because that's kind of a part of being hospitable is you bring gifts. And yes, we know they brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and we all probably know that we have no clue what any of that other than gold is good for. And there's a lot of different issues that people talk about what the frankincense and the myrrh would be for his future, for the life of Mary and Joseph, and the value that they would be able to use to live off and symbolizing his death. Okay, let's just go past that. Well, I'll go backwards because we're just going to talk about the three gifts. I want to talk about cost, emotion, and time. So those are three gifts. Just like the wise men brought, that if we want to be wise people and love others, we're going to give gifts that kind of focus on those three things: cost, emotions, and time. Now, when you think of giving a gift, and I know some of you are off on the shoulder of the road and go, we don't give gifts anymore because we have everything we need. And we're not going to waste the money, and you're going to be a boss, humbug Scrooge. I'm not talking about going buying things. I'm talking investing in people. There's a big difference. So I have some gifts that came the other day, and I will wrap them and put them under the tree. Because I think that's an important part of loving people, is blessing them with things. They're not extravagant. They're needs. Okay, maybe the grandbabies are going to get extravagant things, but that's a whole different topic, and we're not even going to go there. But I'm talking about doing things for people intentionally that have meaning. And if they have meaning, they are going to cost you something. They're going to be part of your emotional output, and it's going to take some time. So I want you to think about the things that this Christmas that you can do for others that would fall along that line. One of the easiest things in the world is to go visit people, go visit older people, go to a nursing home, go find shut-ins. Now, if you're not a part of a church that has an organization or just a simple data system that tells them who's not there and who needs some encouragement, then you need to maybe look somewhere else. If you're not a part of a community that knows where its people need to be lifted up and encouraged, you need to find a different community. If you don't have people 5 people you can call up and say, I'm bringing coffee cake and I'm coming over, you maybe need to realign your priorities, because our whole life is serving. And serving is about the cost of relationship, the emotions that involved, and the time that it's going to take for those three gifts to make an impact in people's life. Christmas can be a very lonely time, so what an awesome time to take those three gifts in the form of you and go love somebody. Now, on my fridge, and we could take a walk about to the kitchen and you could look at my fridge, but there's some pictures. Now, there's a couple pictures, and some might be in the bulletin board by now, but there's a couple pictures that some kids drew me. And of course, my grandkids, although now I have them, they're not quite old enough to draw ugly pictures that we put up and say are cute, which I will not lie to my grandchildren. I will just make interesting statements. But if it's not a good picture, it's just coloring. So, hey, you did a good job coloring. Well, I probably would even say that. But and then there is, Adley took his little footprints and made turkeys, and it's cute. But there's things in my fridge that didn't really cost anybody money. It cost him some thought. But what they did showed me some emotion, that I was important. And the other thing it showed me is that they were willing to take the time to do something. Now, there's a saying that I really like, and I kind of made it up, but you'll forgive me for that too. Gifts, regardless of their content, convey value from the giver to the receiver. Gifts tell somebody, even if it's a dandelion, that they were important enough to be given something. There's something really special about giving someone something, whether it's a muffin you made, whether it's time, whether it's a hug, whether it's a card, whether it's just a visit, which just a visit is probably the highest affirmation of people's attention of all times. But I want you to go back, remember the wise men that we totally ditched. But we're going to kind of make a comment about who the wise men came to see. They came to see Jesus. Now think about Jesus. Think about those three gifts. Cost, emotion, time. Okay, got you thinking because you were going, oh, I don't know what they are. It cost Jesus something to come to earth. And that's what Christmas is all about. It's about when God came to earth in the form of a human, and that was Jesus. Okay, let me preface it this way. It's a beautiful summer day. It's a gorgeous summer day. And you are out on the bonfire deck. We have this big patio. You are in the shade. You have lemonade or tea or Diet Coke, whatever your enjoyment is. The sun is out. It's perfect. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. It's not too windy. It is just a beautiful day. And someone comes and says, hey, can you go to the garage for me and get something? And you go, I can go to the garage. Well, our garage isn't on our house, so it's kind of a dive. But if the roof is still standing, it's safe to go in there. But you open the door and you walk in, and it is if you walked into February in Minnesota with the same thing you were wearing on a beautiful July day, with 3 feet of snow, icicles hanging everywhere, and it is so cold you can't breathe, and then the wind blows. Okay, you got that in your mind? That's kind of what Jesus did. It cost him leaving heaven. Heaven is the presence of God, so that was bad enough to leave the presence of God. But he came down here to an earth full of all sorts of stuff that doesn't work. It cost him something, and that you did not hear him complaining. He did what he was called to do. And that took some emotion out of him. Can you imagine? Well, I'm sure you can, because you watch people like I watch people make a total fool of themselves, say the wrong things. Okay, just open Facebook. You're going to see it all over. And you want to go, how can you do that? Why are you saying that? Stop. I think that's probably the emotions of Jesus for those however many years that he was cognitively thinking. How can they do that? Why are they saying that? Duh. It cost Jesus a lot of emotion. And sometimes he didn't keep his mouth shut. Sometimes he opened it and said, you got to stop. But it cost a lot of emotion. But then it cost him time. The time he spent walking on this earth was very purposeful and very intentional. He made his moments count. So what if we took 3 gifts this Christmas, like the 3 wise men took, that took forever to get here? And by the way, we have some fun with our wise men at Christmas, and I'll talk about nativity scenes sometime. But our wise men go all around the house because they're not at the manger when baby was born. So when the kids are little, we would find them in the flour, in the sugar, in the fridge, in the freezer. These little Rubbermaid things would walk all around the house, and when you found it, you hid it somewhere else, because the wise men weren't at Jesus' birth. So we have some fun with it, but I won't get too far off there. So there's in the Bible, it really talks about 4 ways to give. One is alms, and that's when you give to the poor. One is your tenth or your tithe, and that is when what you intake, you give back to God 10%. He lets, he's keep 90, but just give the 10th back to him. And then offerings is way above and beyond that. And I would challenge you, if you're not doubling your offerings from what your tithe is, you really haven't figured out what giving is all about. But I think the most important part of giving that we sometimes overlook, or maybe we just don't want to, is giving of grace. So giving grace is the goal of everybody. It's our faith walk. And whether you wrap it up in a pretty box and put it under the tree, or whether you make a canvas and take it to somebody, whether you make cookies, whether you make a meal, whether you just go sit and listen, whether you give someone a ride, whatever you do, there's three gifts you can give that will make a world of difference to people at Christmas. And it may not cost you anything, but it may cost you everything. Because it needs to cost you something for it to be meaningful. It also needs to have some of your emotions wrapped up in it, and then it also will take time. But what a gift to give. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you come up with some really awesome ways to give gifts. Those three: time, cost, emotions. Have a great one.